All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Top 5 for Small Business, Strategies to Recruit and Retain Talent. The Top 5 series features experts in human resources, marketing, accounting, and other topics that help small business owners be successful. Before we begin, please remember to mute yourself during the presentation and feel free to use the chat to interact with each other and to ask questions of our speakers. I will be moderating the chat today for your questions, and there will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation. If you require alternate translations during the webinar, please use the Wordly link in the chat. Okay, let's meet today's panelists. First up is Otai Lavan. She is the Chief Strategy Officer at VisiPay and has been with VisiPay since November of 2021. Otai is passionate about all things people strategy and has over 15 years of experience in HR. She leads VisiPay's people strategy, a team that focuses on the internal and external employee experience.
Good morning.
Next up is Drew Harden, who is the CEO and founder of Blue Compass. He has guided Blue Compass from a two-person startup in 2007 to being one of the Midwest's leading digital marketing companies. He is also an author.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And then last but not least is Lori Gellar. She is the Chief Operating Officer at Bing Bang and has been with Bing Bang since 2020. As Chief Operating Officer, Lori oversees the company's operations while building a highly inclusive culture to ensure that team members thrive and that outcomes are met. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm really excited for this discussion about talent, recruitment, and office culture, since it's kind of hard out there right now, especially for small businesses, big businesses, everywhere in between. So we're going to jump into the discussion. First up, what are some of the defining features of your workplace cultures, and how does that impact your employee recruitment and retention?
I can go. So Otai Lavan, I want to say it's our people. We embrace individuals to come who they are. Another key factor for us is accountability. We hold each other to this. With us being open and honest in our communication, everyone knows who comes and goes. And another thing is we really stay true to our 3 whys, which is culture, transparency, and being the voice for small business owners.
Awesome.
I would say at Blue Compass, our values define our culture. We're very, very focused on our values, and we have 5 value statements. And the first one is we are positive. And we always agree that looking on the bright side is better than the alternative, and we're really passionate about doing that. We have leaders here who don't just allow fun, but they cause it. And our next value statement is we grow our expertise. We're big believers in growing, not just as individuals here, but as a company, because if you're not growing, you're falling back. And then the next value is we support one another. We think that, having each other's backs is incredibly important. We're not out for one person who is a star here, but we want team players, and we have a really great team who follow that. And then the next one is we give clients our best. That's our statement towards quality. And then our last value statement is we reject drama and gossip. And we're not perfect, but we're pretty good about that. And we've hired people who have started here and just been amazed at the lack of drama and gossip. So it's something we've been able to do a pretty good job at.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with all of those. They're spot on. I would say for us here at Bing Bang, it for sure is our people. Like, we take a lot of time when we bring someone or onboard them on. I always tell everyone here, like, there's not a single person that is alike here. And I think I love that difference amongst the team members, but yet somehow we're all united. We all have a good time together. And part of that, I think, is because we have a really fun work environment. We try hard to have like a positive, like open, friendly environment that just, when you walk into our doors, we want that energy to be there. So the music's going and the lights are all on and everyone's engaged and having conversations. And I think that just instantly creates that work environment that people actually want to be there and they want to work hard. I think another aspect for us is communication. So we are very open to, like, that transparency is huge for us. We want to make sure we're all on the same page. We're all speaking the same language. We're all aware of what's happening. If we have that open communication, and that's hard to do. Like, that is a hard thing to instill. And it took some time to get there, that we were all on the same page. And then I would say the last one's our core values too. Like that, when the company was built, they were built on these 5 core values. We use them in everything. We use them in our interview. We use them in our ongoing dialogue. We'll call each other out on it. But the 5 core values, that's how our business works. It's how we operate, and we're very focused on them. So constant reminder to our team always about those values.
Thank you. When thinking about your culture and where it is now, what starting points did you have when you joined your company or started your company? And then how did you add to that?
When I started in 2020, so not really a great time to start in a new environment. And it was one of those shaky environments too, because it was so unstable. You didn't know what was happening. People were working remote. And so we knew, just with the changing environment, we needed to kind of step back. We needed to embrace it. We needed to figure out what our steps were going to be to still create that kind of culture. And we were very fortunate that quickly we were not necessarily in a remote setting. We had employees working in the remote setting, but we knew right away we had to figure out channels of communication, because if you don't have the communication, just everything breaks down. And so we were noticing in all of it between our employees, they were all working in different systems. We had probably 7 different systems the different teams were working out of. And we worked really hard. We took that time to create a unified system that we could talk to each other and be transparent of what was going on, all the way from a lead to the company to the invoice. And so I'd say that was one of our biggest things. And then we took the time to actually schedule social time and schedule meetings. I think you can run into the excuse that there's just not enough time in the day or we're all super busy, but actually putting those meetings, the one-on-ones, the team meetings, putting those on the calendar and keeping to them, that was huge for us in the adjustment process. So I think those were some of the ones just right away that I can think of that we knew were critical in that time, and it took a lot of time to build it.
So I'll jump in. Many years ago, I worked at a toxic culture, and it was taxing, it was draining, it was a really negative experience. And in 2007, I had the idea for Blue Compass. And so I co-founded Blue Compass along with Carrie, my business partner. And we always had 2 goals all the way back then. One, we wanted to give good organizations a clear direction for their digital presence. And that's what we do as a digital marketing company. And 2 is we just wanted to have a fun, positive culture that we really loved. And so for the first number of years, man, the culture was always so great. Of course, we were really small. We started out with 2 people. We slowly grew over the years. And in 2012, I always say the best and the worst thing that ever happened to Blue Compass occurred, which is we got an absolutely massive client. So we had 8 people at the time, and it caused us to double overnight to 16. And that was tremendous. It was a great client. We still work with them today, but it caused us to grow too fast. And I realized, at that point, the power of my personality is not enough to always fuel a great company culture. You have to have strategy. You have to be purposeful about having that great culture. And it was the first time I saw any forms of drama or gossip creep into Blue Compass. And so we got really, really serious about fixing the culture. And the first thing we did is define our values. So I mentioned our 5 value statements. And I love what Lori said. For us as well, our values are in everything that we do, because it's not enough to have values. You have to have visible values, and you have to have team members that love your values So like Lori said, same here, we use values in our hiring process. We have them on the wall, we have them on our website, we have them in our intranet, we have them on our proposals. I went and did a big presentation to a big potential client recently, and a very corporate client, and the second slide just had a picture of our values on the wall. And that's not usually how companies start their new business process, but it's so integral to who we are. And they're just fantastic guideposts, and they really help you correct when you're going in the wrong direction. And I think it's important to hire and to do reviews by those as well. And if you can get people on your team who believe in those same values that you do, I think our values are fantastic, but maybe they're not right for everyone. And that's okay. I think Blue Compass is an amazing place to work, but maybe it's not right for everyone. And that's okay too. You want to choose people to join your team that you're going to like, that's going to work hard, but that's going to really fit into your culture and values, and that are going to be proponents to your culture, because like they say, one bad apple does spoil the bunch. So 10 plus years ago, we ended up removing some people. We had some hard conversations, we put those values in place, and we started being way more purposeful about building that culture. And that's what turned us around, and probably one of the reasons I'm here today.
Kind of building off of that a little bit, we have a lot of companies who started, one or two people. They started small, they started family. When you start to build up and look for outside candidates outside of, your husband or your wife or your kids who are helping out, how do you A, create those values, and B, how do you find candidates or make sure that the candidates that you do like adhere or also value those values and are a good fit for your company?
So I'll jump in real quick with an answer. At Blue Compass, we have a conference room, and one of the walls is all glass. And years ago, I don't know why, but people started trying to make the person who's in, oh, hey, they're doing construction out here. And he's going to stop right out here too. Yeah. Proves it's live. So one of the guys, who was interviewing on our team, usually the interviewee sits with their back to the wall, and people started like pushing each other around on chairs and like shotgunning Pepsi to try to make the person laugh. And it like escalated over the years. And now so we had team members go out there with wigs on and like dance around to country music and stuff like that. And the interviewee usually doesn't see that. So that's, someone could say that's really weird. That's not very professional. But I never shut that down, because that's who we are. And Blue Compass is very social, very energetic type of place. And if someone who's interviewing here turns around and sees someone doing something silly and doesn't like that and is turned off by that, well, that's probably a good thing. That gives them a great flavor of our culture. So I think that's just one of the ways, like, first of all, being yourself, setting expectations when you're hiring, that's so important. So often, whether you're being interviewed or whether you're interviewing someone, sometimes we try to be someone we're not. We try to be perfect. We try to be flawless. And, you have to set the expectations appropriately. And so we always try to be ourselves and try to add the people to our team who are really going to truly fit in here. You got to be as honest as possible. Be your best self, but be yourself. And you have to be really serious about that, setting those expectations. So I think that's one of the ways you grow. And then just real quick, I'll also say, put the structure in place for relationship building, whether you have 2 people or 2,000. And as you grow, you have to put the structure in place for relationship building. You have to have constant connections. Your managers have to believe in your values. Everyone has to be on the same page, because people will go out of their way to do their best work for those with whom they have great relationships. And it's so important for your team to not be competing with another, for departments not to be opposed with another, for people to be on the same team. So you have to have the structure in place for relationship building.
I have to, it's funny when you were talking about the interview process at Bing Bang, we always joke because our interview process is typically our candidate will meet with the leader first, then they meet with the leadership team, and then they'll meet with the entire company, just through like a tour and random conversations on the side. But in the leadership team meeting, I can't even tell you how many times we are true, authentic, who we are. We're laughing in the interview most of the time. We are joking around. And it gives a sense that it's not a typical interview. It's very relaxed. We want to hire a good person. I am more worried about a true good person than I am running through a resume. And this is coming from a girl that came from the recruiting background. But you can get so stuck on the resume and the skills on the resume. But I'm telling you, if you get a personality and you get a true good human being in your office, you can train them on anything. You can build them to what you need them to be from a skill set wise. I mean, if they have the basic, yes, there's a foundation they need to have. But in those interviews, I'm more worried about getting to know who they are. And I want them to know who we are. So I'm sure some people walked out of our interviews and were like, those guys are crazy. Like, that's the leadership team. But it truly is who we are. And I can't even tell you how many people have complimented that. They've said how you just immediately made me feel comfortable. You immediately made me feel like I was part of that team. You guys were just real. You were grounded and you're real. And I always said, I'm like, that's what you get. Because if you think about it, you're coming here to work with us. And when you're working with us, you're spending more time with us than you are at home. You can't count sleeping. So most of the time, those people they're going to be with you more than their families, which is kind of sad when you think about it, but it's the honest truth. So we want them to know what they're walking into. We want them to understand that we are one big happy family, and we got the good and we got the bad, but you get it all. So it's who we are.
Yeah.
Lori, I love that. Sorry, I was just going to say, you can teach skills, but you can't teach personality. Personality is so important.
Yeah.
And good character.
And I agree with you both. I mean, that's just how we are too at VisitPay. It's not about your resume. We don't care about the years of experience that you have. It's about who you are as an individual, what you can bring to the table. For us, it's culture first and foremost. And that's what we focus on in our interview process. If they don't fit our culture, then it's not going to work long term. At the end of the day, culture is what matters.
Thank you. What barriers have you experienced in retaining talent or creating talent retention, especially in the last few years?
For me, in my experience in the HR world, I would say a barrier would be not understanding the workforce. The workforce is always changing, not getting comfortable with the norm. And another key initiative too is not being able to implement changes from top down. These are just some of the challenges overall with retention strategies. You have to have a leader that understands the people and understands strategies around people. And if you're not able to implement changes or impact those changes, then those are definitely going to be challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There are a lot of barriers. It's not, I mean, I always say it doesn't have to be hard to, have good retainment of employees, but it is hard. I mean, it's easy to say it doesn't have to be hard, or it doesn't have to be, but I really believe it doesn't. I feel like people try really hard, and yes, barriers come in place. I would say some of our barriers were, we were growing, kind of like Drew, we grew incredibly fast. And so to support that, a lot of changes had to happen. And I think people push back on change. But if you go about it in a way that, I don't think people are scared of change, as long as they understand the why behind it. And I think a lot of time changes happen very quick, very fast, and no one understands why. So we spend a lot of time educating our team in regards to, this is going to change, but this is exactly why we're doing it. And this may change too, and this is why we're doing it. And so I think the more that we educated them on the decisions we were making as a leadership team, just created this comfort and the relaxation of, okay, that makes sense. But if we would have just said, this is what we're doing and moved on, that's where the negativity comes into play. And so that was a big thing. And then we had very talented individuals. And when you're a small company, I mean, we're a company of a size of about 15. When you're a small company and there's opportunities, you've instilled, grown the skill sets of some of these team members, and there is a really great career opportunity for them that maybe we wouldn't have been able to offer at the time. That, instead of looking at it as a negative, that is not negative turnover to us. It means we built them up and they get to take that next step in their career, and we encourage them and we hope that the best of them. We hope too that as we grow, we'll bring them back. They're gonna miss us. They're gonna want to come back. And so as we started having really talented individuals that were ready for the next step, that was a barrier for us to be like, it's okay that they're leaving. This is not necessarily a bad reflection of us. It means they got something really good and they're growing their career. So I would say the growth of the company and then the growth of our employees, both of those were barriers for us that we had to kind of change our mindsets on.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah,
I think it was really powerful. I think not a lot of people think about when people leave, about the motivating factors. They're like, oh, people are leaving, but there is a success component to it. Is you've done a successful job in training the workforce and helping them succeed, and then they're going to go share, you know, the good stories and skills and the good word about your company, and ultimately help your company grow again. Thank you. Drew, you had something?
No, I was just gonna say I agree with that. And I think, you know, I write about this in my book, but I think that sometimes as leaders, we're really, really hard on ourselves when someone leaves. And you can never stop everyone from leaving. And that's not what our focus should be. Our focus should be creating an incredible, positive, wonderful environment where people can grow and enjoy their work, and focusing on that. There's always family situations, there's career situations like Lori mentioned. You know, people do leave from time to time. Now, I mean, we shouldn't, you know, use that as an excuse. And when, you know, bunches of people are leaving, say, oh, it's not my fault. I think as leaders, we need to examine ourselves and try to do better. But you can never stop everyone from leaving, and that's fine. You shouldn't do that. And, you know, sometimes when someone leaves, it's a blessing for them.
Yeah. We talked a little bit, Otai, you mentioned the workforce and like what the workforce is. The current workforce is the most diverse in history. The next generation of workers are looking for meaning in their jobs and in their lives. And the later generation of workers is like, I'm here, I'm at work. And they're facing rapid changes with technology as well. How does the evolving general differences in the workforce affect your strategies for attraction for talent?
For us, it's about embracing the change, you know. If the organization welcomes change, from a morale standpoint, it's easier to adjust. For us, you know, the environment, we're such a close-knit group here. Everyone knows everyone, and we know each other's families. And so we have to have a synergy amongst of who we are. We operate very fast, a very agile environment. And so our talent here, they have to have a sense of resiliency too, because of the fact that we operate so fast. Again, we're not individuals that focus on resumes. We don't care about that. We focus on who you are as an individual. Are you able to bring it? Are you trainable? Are you coachable? Because we're looking for high performers. And we know that high performers adapt and pivot in the environment that we have. You know, they're very self-directed. They're cool under pressure. You know, they're consistent, and ultimately they want to grow with us. They bleed green.
I always laugh when they talk about the generational, you know, differences of the employees, and that's coming from me, who's the oldest employee of the company, and they just think it is the best thing to make fun of me in every aspect that you can think of in regards to old age. And so I think for us at Bing Bang, we don't overcomplicate it. Like, we are all different. We're all different ages. We all have different skill sets. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses, and we embrace it all, because honestly, we're going to lean on each other for I always say the wisdom of us old ones, and then I'm going to lean on them for their technology, and as long as we're all open to the fact that none of us are perfect, we all can learn from each other. We all are going to have to play nice in the sandbox together, knowing that our generations bring different skill sets and expertise, and we just have fun with it. We're light with it. We joke about it. I think you can embrace it and make it a good thing. And I think you can have a lot of fun with it too. Except for when you're the old one. That's not fun. I'm reminded of it daily.
But you have such vast wisdom, I'm sure.
I
compared to
mean, the
everyone else.
wisdom is unbelievable. Trust me. I'm making them all so wise.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Our society is very focused on groups. And I think that for us, it's important to focus on individuals. And when you start looking at resumes, when you interview someone, when you have someone on your team, looking at them as individuals is so important. And acknowledging people in a unique way, not globally, but individually, I think is very important as well. So at Blue Compass, we know everyone really well. We know their likes and dislikes, but when someone starts here, we also have a little survey they fill out, and it's a lot of questions. How do you like to be acknowledged? What's your favorite ice cream flavor? What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite restaurant? It just lots of questions about them, and it really helps us initially understand who they are, what they like, how they like to be acknowledged, et cetera, how they like to work and things like that. And so I do think, it's important for us as leaders not to lose sight of the individual.
Oh, I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot.
Sure.
VisiPay has been named a top workplace 2 years in a row. What have you done at VisiPay in the last few years to receive that designation and to keep it?
Well, I'm going to say it again. It's our people. We stay true to who we are. For individuals coming from home life to the workplace, we don't change that. We don't hide behind a curtain. Our employees are not here for the short-term gain. I can tell you that. I'm here for the long-term vision, and all of our employees is as well. We bleed green. We've seen a shift in the environment of changing of people working remotely, and people are coming in here because they want to be part of community. They want to be part of an environment of doing things right. And to be honest with you, we're not here to fly under the radar. I mean, how can you disrupt if you're flying under the radar? And honestly, we really don't give a damn of what people think of us. We know we're loud, we know we're annoying, but we embrace it.
Awesome. If you haven't heard, the Greater Des Moines Partnership just released the 2023 Workforce Trends and Occupancy Study, studying our workforce, our businesses, everything in between, and how people feel about their work and our businesses. And we found that employees are seeking more than just standard pay and benefits. They want more, they want meaning, they want to be trusted, they want a really great place to work and play, and all of the above. What are the top 3 attributes or benefits that each of your organizations offer that positively impacts your workforce satisfaction? And I know that one's kind of a deep one, so you can take a couple minutes if needed.
I can say for us, it's a different culture perspective. Having a sense of purpose, that's where the shift has been in the last, I want to say probably 4 years, with COVID hitting. It's just a sense of purpose. People wanting to be authentic. They want to have a drive. They want to work with people that they care about. They're giving up that remote work setting and coming into the office and being ingrained in our culture and our workplace.
I think to answer that question, the 3 things that we really stepped back and we looked at and we're like, okay, this doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be expensive. We would love to just pay unlimited amounts to our employees. We love them all. They're all very talented, all gifted. I would love to give them massive salaries, but I don't think that's it. Like, I've always truly believed it's not necessarily the money they're bringing home every day, even though that's good. And I want to be very fair with that. But there's small things that we did that changed significantly. And I know this because we ask our employees, like before this on Monday morning, I asked them, I'm like, all right, real fast, what does everyone love so much about Bing Bang? Like, what is it? And I wouldn't let them think very hard on it. And multiple times what came up was the flexible scheduling. So one of the small things that we did is we instantly stepped back. We had intense schedules. We have to be there for our clients. Obviously, it's number one. But working around that and having the flexible scheduling. And when I say flexible scheduling, meaning some people are morning people and they want to leave early to go to their kids' school events or their sporting events. Some people like to sleep in. Like, this is a generation thing too, right? Some are like, I am not functioning until 9 or 10 in the morning, but I am going to work until 6 or 7 at night. And I'm the most productive at that time. Everybody has their different times of when they're the most productive, and we respect that. And so it's not just it's the daily schedules, flexibility. We trust you. Like, if you have an appointment or something, we don't want you to worry about, you have to be here at 8 o'clock and you have to leave at 5 o'clock. Like, you have the trust of us that go do what you need to do, come in when you are going to be the most productive. So that was one. We adapted the work from home. We have flexible PTO. So we don't have a rigid, you get 3 weeks of vacation or you get 4 weeks of vacation. Take what you need. So we want the best of you. So if you are happy outside of these walls, more than likely you are going to bring that and you're going to transfer that energy to the whole team. And surprisingly, when we don't call it unlimited, but we call it flexible PTO. When we made that adjustment, number one, most people do not abuse it. I mean, I would say everyone respects it so much and appreciates it that it's not abused. And that, I think, was hard for some of our leadership to be like, this is going to get out of control. It has not at all. So I would say that was a big adjustment we made as a company, and it has been probably the best change we ever made. And then we scheduled social time, and this sounds dumb, but it's kind of like working out in the middle of a day. If you don't schedule it, you're more likely not going to do it, right? So we scheduled social time that every Monday morning, what happens on a Monday morning? Everyone wastes all this time repeating what they did to each other for the weekends. So instead, the whole company gets together and we spend a half an hour and we go around and everyone talks about what they did that weekend. And I think that was probably the hardest thing for our CEO to be like, let me understand this. We're going to take the time out of our crazy schedules. We're going to sit back and we're just going to sit around and we're going to talk about what we did for the weekends. But what that has done is it has helped everyone have a respect for each other, of their families, their passions, their likes. It's just created this unity of everyone having a respect for one another and their lives and their passions and what motivates them and their families. Like, you get so much value out of that. And then we end our weeks with we call it FU. So it's FU to the week, but Friday Unwind is what it actually stands for. And that's when we just all get together and we grab a drink and we, if they want that, and we sit around and we laugh about the week. And so everyone comes in the mornings on a Monday morning who are crabby, tired, exhausted, and we're laughing, talking about our weekends. And then we close off the week on a positive. They go home and they had that time to kind of decompress from the week and just enjoy each other. So they're little things. They're very inexpensive. And you could say time is money, but I'm telling you that's some of the best scheduled time we do for our employees and for our team.
I love that. It's so important to take the time to have fun with one another, to bond with one another, because that's what builds relationships. And when you have good relationships, again, in your office, people are more willing to help each other, to go out of their way to assist each other. People aren't looking over their shoulders like someone else is going to steal their credit. So yeah, I love that, Lori. I would say at Blue Compass, servant leadership is probably one of the things that's really, really important. We do not have leaders that are out for themselves, but it's really important for us to be great stewards of our role and to invest in others. When we built out our office, we decided to not put any doors in Blue Compass. We have doors on some conference rooms, and there's a front door, and doors on the restrooms, of course, that's probably important. But like my office here and all of our offices don't have any doors on them because we didn't just want an open door policy. We wanted a no door policy. And I think a lot of times, team members get frustrated when they don't feel heard, when they don't feel like they can have a voice. And so that was really important for us. So I think that servant leadership is really part of what makes Blue Compass special, and just our acknowledging of people. No one ever left a job because they were too acknowledged. I think that's important. The second thing I would say is probably no drama and no gossip. And again, that's difficult. We're not perfect, but we do a really good job of that. And that starts from the top as well. The best way to get a behavior from someone is to model it yourself. So for me as CEO, if I go and am negative or I create some drama or anything like that, I mean, that's the worst thing we can do. I realized years ago that my number one purpose as CEO is to make our values known to the team, to live them out myself, and to help our team members do the same. That's the number one reason why I'm here. And I think that's incredibly important. And that's one of the ways we keep the drama and gossip to a minimum. I think the third one is probably just joy. It's just, I think laughter is one of the best metrics, one of the most telling metrics of a healthy office. And we have that in abundance here. Like laughing together, taking the time to, we were talking beforehand, but when you have an office where people can laugh at each other, can tease one another in a friendly manner and don't fear repercussions, what an incredible culture that is. And thankfully, that's something we are blessed to have.
Thank you guys. Those were all really, really great items. And I don't know, I took notes. I'm gonna bring that back to the office. Those are all awesome.
It's Drew, it's funny that you say, if we can say things to each other and no one has hurt feelings about it. We talk about that as well in kind of our interview process. And even here, like we talk about roasting each other, we roast each other, but it's all good. It's all fun. Because we truly do care about each other. And it's literally, it feels like a family environment.
I think if you instill that trust and that respect, I think that's when you can get away with it. And I'm not saying that you don't have to be cautious. You're still a business.
Of
and
course.
so I do joke about the fact that I'm like, oh, I think I'm technically responsible for HR. So I quit that piece of it. But we have done such a great job instilling that trust and respect in one another that's when you get to that level, that's when you can have fun with it.
Lori, earlier in your answer, you had mentioned flexibility in scheduling as one of your top 3 things. And flexibility in the workplace is shifting to a work-life balance blend. How has, Lori, we know how you did, but Drew and Otai, how have your companies adjusted to the hybrid or work-life balance blend of work, and how have you shifted your policies and your operations to best promote a healthy work-life balance?
Sure. So for us, we have something very similar to what Lori has. We call it discretionary time off, which is very similar to unlimited time off, which is unique for us, being a young company. And of course, it was different, 1, 2, 3 years of when the company started, because we operated very lean. But we can see now that our company is growing and our company is getting healthier. I get questions. I know our leaders get questioned about, can I work from home? I'm not feeling good, or whatever it may be. There's no childcare. And my question always in return is, are you truly going to be committed to working remote? If not, take the day. It's okay. Take the day, focus on yourself, feel better, take the time with your family, whatever that may be. But it's interesting because the question of work-life balance, work-life blend, what does that mean? I think it's different for everyone. And I can never answer that, but that's a common question I get a lot, especially in the interview process. And I always go back and say, well, what does that mean to you? Because only you can make you happy. You can determine that, not us. And we just need to know what that is, so you can be able to find that balance, that blend.
I think I like that. I like that. And oh, sorry, Lori, go ahead.
No, it's go ahead. All you.
Okay. I think one of the best things that a company can do for work-life balance is send team members home happy, fulfilled, and feeling positive, or, having them log off feeling that way. And obviously, that's no excuse for working people too many hours or anything like that. But the quality of your work bleeds into the rest of your life. And, work is such an incredible place for us all to grow, to feel fulfilled, to feel purpose, to build relationships. Work can be such an incredible blessing. And so often we look at work as a negative thing, as a horrible thing, as a boring thing. We see Fridays as good and Mondays as bad. And there's good reason for that. There's a lot of bad leaders out there. There's a lot of bad bosses. There's a lot of bad cultures. But I think work has such an incredible potential to bless our lives. And I think when you feel really fulfilled at work, when you have great relationships, that can really help the rest of your life be better. It's vice versa as well. You have a great home life, that's going to help you at work too. But benefits, flexible time, being well paid, these are all incredibly important. But again, I think one of the most important things that companies can do is send people home happy.
Yeah, that I completely agree. And we were talking about the whole flexible back when we knew that flexibility and keeping those employees happy was going to be one of the most important things that we focused on, and that we created that, we instilled that. So when we were talking about the flexible scheduling, like, how do you do that? How do you manage it? We're still a business. We still have clients we need to take care of. We still have shoot schedules we have to, stay true to. And so, as we were talking about it, it's super easy and it doesn't have to be expensive in figuring out how to manage it. What we created was this shared calendar. So everyone can live their life. Everyone can be in the office when they need to be in the office, go do the things they need to do, but just be clear with the team that there isn't any second guessing of, why isn't she here? Or where is she? Or where is he? I'm trying to get a hold of them. So we created this shared company calendar of our schedules that everyone could see. If you were out of the office, that just meant you were running and you're doing a doctor's appointment, or you're running a kid somewhere, or you're picking something up, but you're out of the office. If you had it marked as PTO, it means leave me alone. It means I am separating. I am not focused on business. I am doing my own thing. If you had it as work from home, you had it blocked off as work from home, then I know I can reach out to you through phone or through a Google Meet or whatever it may be. So we were just more transparent in making sure the one rule is you can have all the flexible scheduling you want, but just make sure you're putting it on the calendar so no one has to second guess anything. And that has just made simplicity of managing it, created comfort for everybody. There was no second guessing anyone or their intentions or what they were doing. Can I bother them? Can I not bother them? And so that clarity, it's how we manage instilling that flexible scheduling policy.
I like that. I like that. That's awesome. Let's see. We have a couple more questions here before we go into Q&A. So get your questions ready. You can put them in the chat and I will relay them to our speakers. But before we get to Q&A, are there any technological or resources that you would recommend to our small business owners that they should know about to help with talent attraction? Is there anything they should use to seek out the right candidates?
I would say not necessarily on the technology standpoint, but more on understanding who you are as an organization. So understanding what you want your brand to be and tailor your programs, your tools to source for the audience, those candidates. I think that's most important, staying true to who you are, figuring out what are your whys.
Lori or Drew?
I would actually, I'd actually agree with that. And I don't know that I have any technology solutions. Usually when we talk culture, we don't focus too much on technology specifically. But I would say, being really clear, again, setting the right expectations, being clear about what your organization is on your website and on your social media and in your videos, everything like that. I think it's really important. Someone should come to your website if they're interested in working with you. They should legit get a real picture of who you are and what your organization is all about. You don't want to be dishonest or have rose-colored glasses on because you don't want to hire someone who is suddenly surprised at what they're getting. So being honest about that when you portray yourself in your digital presence.
Yeah, and for us, I don't know if I have any necessarily recommendations on the technology for recruiting. I do know that technology was a big piece of making our culture and our communication so much better with our team. And if you have that communication and you have that ability to know pretty much kind of, what's coming down the road, what's happening, what are we doing, where are we at with this? So we stepped back and and I think I had mentioned this earlier, that we were operating out of 7 different systems and we just realized it wasn't healthy. Like we weren't working together as a team. This person had this over here and this person had this over here. And it wasn't cohesive. It wasn't talking to each other. It wasn't working together. And so we did step back and we did a mass look at our process, our systems, our communication, our people. And we worked really hard to find a system that could help us everything from a lead coming into our company, turning that into an opportunity, all the way to closing it, to making it a project for us, managing that project, all the way to our accounting and invoicing system. So doing that made, I can't even tell you how it changed us as a culture, as a business, because we were all driving in the same direction, utilizing the same system. And that was really important to us. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It was a challenge, but when we did it and we saw the results, it just made our team work as a well-oiled machine. It really did. And that I'll give a ton of credit to our culture and where we're at today because of that change that we made. And then we also just educated on technology. You would be amazed, like we use Google as our platform, and you'd be amazed at how many do not know the capabilities and functionality of Google, such as the chats and the Google Meets and the Keep and the tasks and all of that. And it's not that I'm plugging Google, but if you know how to operate and how to communicate and how to work together through that system, sometimes stepping back and teaching the basics of that to your employees, it's eye-opening to them. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know I had the ability to do that. And so I think looking at the technology you do have and just making sure everyone's really educated on it and know how to use it to its fullest capabilities.
Thank you. My last question before we jump into Q&A. We've gone over a lot of different topics today of knowing your why and your value and setting up really great cultures. But what are 3 things, as we close, what are 3 things that you would recommend to a business who is looking to enhance their workplace culture or their talent attraction strategies?
I would
Go ahead.
after you.
I would say, embrace what makes you unique. I mean, look at us. We're loud, we're annoying, but we're proud. And so embracing what makes you unique, focusing on your brand, whatever that may be, and staying true to it. And then understanding your audience to help ignite your brand. So finding those individuals that fit your culture, and that understands this is who we are, and staying true to that. Because at the end of the day, those are the individuals that are going to stay, because culture first and foremost is going to come. So again, focusing on what makes you unique, your brand, and understanding your audience to help unite that.
1, ensure that you have great company values and that they are visible. visible values. 2, acknowledge your team members, take the time and effort to acknowledge your team members and try to do so individually, not globally. Find people doing things right. And 3, I would say sometimes the most productive thing you can do together as a team is to be unproductive. And Lori talked about this, but take the time to build relationships, bond together, have fun together, allow for, what some people consider wasted time at the beginning of a meeting to chat and ask each other how you're doing. Those are 3 things.
The 3 things for me would be structure the time. So we kind of talked about this earlier, structure the time for social, structure the one-on-ones. Your employees need that. They need that comfort of knowing they can have that time with their manager to have the one-on-one. And sometimes it's productive and sometimes it's just talking personal, but structure that time, structure the team meetings and hold true to them. Like I'm not one to have meetings just to have meetings, but when it comes to building that comfort for your employees or making them feel like they're not on an island, those meetings are really important for them. So take the time to do the one-on-ones, take the time to do the team meetings, and take the time to build in those social times. Like that, the structure of that will pay off for you in the end. I'd say number 2 for me is create that trusting, respectful environment. And those are easy. Like the trusting is kind of our flexible schedule. That's a component of building that trust with our employees. The respectful part is we are very considerate of each other's roles, and we make it very clear in the beginning, there is not one role here that is more important than the other. So don't fool yourself with that. Everyone can make coffee. Everybody can take the garbage out. Everybody's time is valuable and important. So don't override the fact that I'm too busy to have that meeting or I have more important things. Each of your employees are so critical and important. So don't overlook that and stick to that commitment to them. And I would say the 3rd thing would just be that clear communication. I always say clear is kind. Explain the why, talk through it, and make them know that you are listening and make sure that they're aware of what's going on. They will move forward in whatever direction you want them to, as long as it's clear and they understand the why. So those would be my 3 things.
Thank you. At this time, we have a couple of extra minutes for some Q&A. You can drop them in the chat or you can go ahead and shout them out as well.
No pressure.
No pressure. Drew, while they think, I did have one question for you. Since you are the CEO and started your company back in 2007, we did a lot of talking about values and knowing your why. What was your process for defining your values or reevaluating your values if you ever had to do that?
Oh, I would love to give a really good answer to that. I don't even remember what our process was for defining our values because it was so long ago. I think I was just like, we don't really have values, so probably we should. So I don't know the answer to that. But however, if you are looking to define or reevaluate your values, again, this is something I write about in my book, but you can go through a value brainstorm exercise where you get together with some of your team members, write down, take a half an hour and write down just as many experiences that you've had that you really love over the past year or so. All the time we took that team outing and we did this, or the time we gave a gift to, one of our clients who was going through chemo, or the time that we won this huge project. And then after you write those down, take a second and go through them again and start picking out the words that are most meaningful from there. Maybe when we won, the humility, the fun, just pulling out the words that are most meaningful. And then the next step is to slowly eliminate those words until you get the ones that matter most. And generally, when you do a simple process like that, it enables you to get to a point where everyone's kind of on the same page that these are the words that matter most. And we changed ours into value statements, but sometimes just the words are sufficient. So that's a good way to evaluate what you have, or just come up with new values if you don't already have values. And I think it's important to note that whether you have values, whether you've chosen values or not, your company does have values because they choose you. Your company does have values that you abide by, but if you don't select them yourselves, they might be values that you don't prefer. So choose values that are, unique to your organization. Every organization has some strengths and maybe your values fit into there, but also choose values that represent where you want to go.
Thank you. We do have a question about how do you determine your budget for leadership development and education?
I can answer that. So what I would recommend is determine what is important to you at the time. So what pieces of leadership development or personal development is important for the company as a whole or for the department as a whole, and then go from there. Then you could determine, okay, what that cost would be, and then start budgeting accordingly.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful panelists today for a fantastic discussion. We do have some upcoming events and programs on your screen. Wednesday, July 12th, we're going to have our next seminar for raising capital for startups. That'll be here at the partnership. So if you are an entrepreneur or have a startup and want to learn more about financing options, not through banks, other financing options, you can join us. It'll be really great. And it's a really great opportunity to just learn more and network with other entrepreneurs and kind of get the next leg up of where you need to go. Our next top 5 for small business will be on Wednesday, July 19th. And we will be talking about productivity in your business and how to get more productive. And then on Wednesday, August 23rd, we will have top 5 for small business, the leadership blueprint, 9 to 10 a.m. And you can register for those at any time.